Welcome to Alton Towers, Blackpool Pleasure Beach. I've been waiting for Nemesis basically all of my life.
We had to buy a fast pass just to get on every ride.
It could be so much better though, it could be so much better.
Everything reminds me of her.
It's kind of terrifying, isn't it? We got a big one coming up, and no, I don't mean the big one.
No matter how wet you think this ride will get you, I can assure you, you are underestimating it. Hey, remember the time when I went to Europe like 8 months ago to go ride some roller coasters?
Alright, day 3 of the road trip, and welcome to Alton Towers, which is, wow. This is stunning. This is an absolutely gorgeous park that doesn't feel like a theme park. You know, I knew coming in, like, all the coasters would be hidden behind the trees, but I didn't expect it to feel just like a beautiful nature park in the English countryside. This is quite lovely. Let's get him some rides. By who? Lovely Rita Metermaid. Not a bad intimate hydraulic launch. Like, the launch is alright. There's punchier ones out there. The airtime hills, like, I mean, this thing is so low, but the airtime hills pack quite a punch, like, legitimate ejector. And for an intimate accelerator, this layout's pretty long. Solid. Do I wish I got on stealth yesterday? Yeah, but take what we can get. Now I just want to know who decided to put a trim brake on the middle of the first drop of 13. Not at the top, not at the bottom, in the middle. So you start going over the drop, you start to be like, ooh, get a little airtime, and then just It kind of sucks. Maybe you could see it right here. Yep. Fun ride. It's okay. Drop track's not that fun.
Okay, whatever, who cares? Can we get to Nemesis already?
I've been waiting for Nemesis basically all of my life, and goddamn, that was a good ride. This corkscrew, like, okay, both of the corkscrews on the ride. I'm really bad at aiming my camera. That corkscrew, like right after the first drop that has really good airtime, surprisingly. The whip on that is better than any back one. The trenches are wild. The sense of speed is crazy. The only thing is it's short, and, you know, could use a couple more elements, but, like, I'm standing in the middle of a trench in the middle of the goddamn ground right now. Like, the setting in this ride is just so special. Like, just listen to it roar. Listen to the monster. So here we are in the beautiful castle grounds of Alton Towers at 5 o'clock, which is apparently the end of the day.
Whoa, 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 hold the phone. You talked about 3 rides. What about everything else? And you have a point, my dissenting literary fiction, but I didn't get to record ride reactions for most of the rides at Alton Towers because I ran out of time. We bought the Fast Pass and still had to speed through the entire park to barely get on everything before the shockingly early 5 o'clock close.
Hey, me from Post here. Just want to state this is kind of a problem with like every single UK park, so though I am mad about Alton Towers here, this, you know, it's not just them.
We had to buy a fast pass just to get on every ride.
And we barely got on
And
everything.
we barely got on everything with a fast pass, which I think is really disappointing for a theme park. You shouldn't have to, you know, we know what we're doing. We were really sort of vigilant. We were going from ride to ride to ride. We weren't sort of dilly-dallying, and we still struggled with the gold fast pass. I think that's kind of shocking, to be honest.
The first ride we hit up when we arrived was Oblivion, the OG dive coaster. It is the definition of a one-trick pony, but at least this pony kicks. Despite the short hold, Oblivion drops like a rock, offering solid airtime that is greatly enhanced by the tight, misty tunnel. Good G's on the pullout too, and then it is over. Oblivion is barely a coaster, but if you think of it more like a drop tower, it's a pretty damn good one. The Smiler was closed at that point, so we headed over to Rita and 13, which I already talked about, and then Wicker Man, the park's GCI. It was alright. Wicker Man's strength is a snaky, long layout that sticks close to the ground with pretty fierce pacing. There's a couple nice airtime pops, but the real surprise are the consistent laterals throughout, better than any other GCI I've been on. It tracks pretty well too, but at the end of the day, it's still a GCI. Every force needs to be 10 to 20% stronger, like every other GCI. Oh well. Eventually, the Smiler opened and we returned to Copper Ride on the current world inversion record holder. I'm sorry, Colossus, old pal, you had a good run. And I didn't have the highest expectations because the whole ride seems so gimmicky. And I can confirm that the Smiler is indeed a gimmick, but at least it is unabashed about it. There's some whippy moments and one great airtime hill about halfway through the ride, plus we got some delightful dueling in the second half on our circuit. But the layout is just so repetitive, and the Gerstlauer roughness really gets to you because it's just such a long ride. After a while, it feels like being thrown around in a washing machine. I can't deny that I got off feeling a little dizzy and maybe a tiny bit sick. 7 out of 10. I got my first powered credit on Alton's Runaway Mine Train, which did not have any of the savage airtime I've come to expect from Great Adventure's identically named installation. I would have to wait until the next day to experience the sensation of a runaway mine train hill again. But it was still fun. 2 laps around a shockingly long layout that's mostly boring, but rewards you with scenic views and an absolutely wicked helix down into that cave tunnel. And then finally there's Galactica, a very unconventional B&M flyer that was a really pleasant surprise. It's the anti-Tatsu, weaving through the trees, sticking near ground level as it is legally required to. There are no pretzel loop-like forces to be found, the lie-down section isn't really forceful, but it's fun. And that's Galactica's strength, it's joyous. The airtime hills peppered throughout swoop you down like a bird of prey, and it offers a similar sensation of flight to Tatsu, but instead of diving up and down gracefully like an eagle soaring in an updraft, you flit around in the shadows like a plucky little pigeon. This cute little flyer put a smile on my face, but it didn't really rock my world. I'll be honest, barely anything at Alton Towers really rocked my world. I was pretty disappointed by the park, especially since it was probably my most anticipated park of the trip. But maybe we just had a bad day.
Alton Towers is a lovely setting.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Beautiful. I love all the dark themes. I think the UK does dark themes really well. So I am personally really into that. But I just don't think they have a standout coaster. But 8 out of 10 is the highest it gets for a ride at Alton Towers for me.
Ouch.
They don't have that headline ride, I don't think.
Let the record show that I agree with this statement. Outside of Nemesis, which I do think is a solid 9 out of 10, it just doesn't have them. Just like Thorpe Park, Alton is populated with a lot of 7 out of 10s, and it doesn't really have a Hyperia. While Alton has the advantage of being stunningly beautiful, I almost wish they could commit more to their attractions, or just pare them back and focus on the landscape. Anyways.
It's really pretty, and I like the castle grounds here. I think I prefer it just like a park, like a public park that you can walk through and admire, like this old architecture. No, there's some good rides. I understand the tree line thing kind of makes building something really impressive difficult, but yeah, it was all right.
Alton Towers is a cool and unique place, but I would rather have spent my time walking around the grounds, taking in the beautiful flower garden, exploring the historic castle, and then going to a dedicated amusement park that isn't handicapped by the restrictions Alton Towers is forced to deal with. Alton is attempting to bridge an impossible gap, to be 2 things at once, and in trying to become the jack of 2 trades, it ends up being the master of none. It's a shame because I really wanted to like Alton Towers, but while our next park was far less picturesque, it was at least unabashedly an amusement park. It was time to visit the Coney Island of the Irish Sea, the battered beacon of British roller coaster heritage, Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
Last stage of the trip, we made it to Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And right behind me, that's the monorail. But right behind me on the other side, that's the turnaround of the legendary Big One. You know me. Got my Magnum shirt. I'm down to clown. Let's do it! First impressions of Blackpool, having not been on a single ride, it's less shitty than I thought it would be. That's a good sign.
47 mornings this way up 55 minutes, another way to
We've done it. The big one, sponsored by Pepsi Max. I've braved it. And I have opinions. It feels like a Magnum monorail, and I really like that. It has none of the airtime of Magnum, but it does have some of the positive G's of Magnum. And it's just like got really beautiful views, and you get a nice tour of the park. It could be so much better, though. It could be so much better. That first drop, I was really hyping it up in my head, and honestly, it wasn't as good as I thought it was gonna be. Like, you just kind of get like pushed down, and then there's like nothing else on the drop. I mean, the sensation of it's fun, but it's mainly like the beautiful views of the ocean that you get, and just like the fun tour of the park that really makes the ride special. It's a little shaky, but not in like a bad way. It does feel like Magnum. It has that like kind of janky like transitions, like tangent radius stuff. But I like it. I was destined to like it anyway. I don't know why, but I suddenly have a hankering for a can of Pepsi. Pepsi Max specifically. Just got off a second ride on the big one. This time we rode it in the front. Actually no, the drop in the front's like almost more fun because you just get like a funny, funky jerk and it still throws you out of your seat. I need to get back in like the back of the train later, I think, to get the full like experience of that insane drop. But the front was more consistent, had better airtime. I just like, it's like an abandoned cat that you find at the side of the road that's like missing an ear and it has a weird skin infection and its eye looks a little bit funky, but you love it anyway because it wins your heart. That's the big one for me. But unlike other arrows that I think are like, you know, Viper, like that I think are legitimately like great rides, I can freely admit that this is not Arrow's best work. The Wallace and Gromit cars are shaped like shoes. And they have a tartan pattern on them. It's so cute. The houses look just like the houses do in Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Whoa, wait. Roll that one back. Yeah, that. Why doesn't Arrow's shuttle loop sound like King Ka? Everything reminds me of her.
First ride on an Arrow shuttle loop. I was very excited about this one. My parents always used to ride the Lightning loops back in the day. I guess I had to travel all the way to England to find one for me. It was really fun. I sat in the second to back row. The ejector pop off the first drop was pretty good. Not as good as everyone talked it up, but the backwards loop section and like the pop of ejector you get going back to the station was delicious. It was really fun. The launches aren't really launches, they're just kind of like gentle pushes to get you off the platform, but I like it a lot. It's just miserable capacity and you have to walk 50 feet in the air to get there. Kind of relaxing. So we just rode the steeplechase. What'd you think?
It was really fun.
Yeah. It's kind of terrifying, isn't it?
It feels like you shouldn't be traveling that fast on that horse.
No, and it like, the transitions are so weird. It like you have to lean into them like you're on a motorcycle, else you get just jerked around. But it's like, it's not painful. It's just fun. The whole thing's very jerky, but
We didn't manage to race each other. We were
No.
trying to time it, and in the end, we ended up sharing a horse, which was
yeah, because you were one time off, and then literally the group behind us just left with an empty horse, so we were racing an empty horse, and we could have just done that, but you know, whatever. Another arrow off the list. Okay, fine. I guess we'll ride the good roller coaster. Just got off of Icon. It's a fun ride. It really doesn't fit in the park. Feels way too like modern. For a mock multi-launch, it's solid. The first launch is better than I thought. The second launch is nothing. That Immelman, after the second launch, is absolutely nuts in the back. It just like transitions from hang time to ejector seamlessly. It's amazing. All right, folks. We got a big one coming up. And no, I don't mean the big one. I mean my 250th credit. That's right. It's Infusion at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. A Vekoma SLC with the old restraints.
You may think I'm a bit crazy, and you would be right, but that is besides the point. Infusion actually happens to be a more than worthy candidate for the Big 250, and that's because I have a bit of a special association with Vekoma SLCs. Way back in the day, when I first got back into the hobby, my first major milestone was an SLC, number 100, and none other than the Mind Eraser at Six Flags America. Oof. Since then, I've had a sentimental attachment to these piles of trash, and I was glad that I can add another SLC to my rapidly growing infinity gauntlet of garbage milestones. So then, how was Infusion?
The Big 250 done. This was actually a surprisingly good one. It's tracked very smoothly up right until you got to the inline twists, and then it like transitioned to the old track and we got horrible jolts for the rest of the ride. But everything before that point was smooth. This does have the old restraints. It wasn't even headbanging up till the inline twists. So I guess maybe go ride Infusion at Blackpool in the front row and you'll have a good time. Now I'm gonna be bonded to this ride for the rest of my life.
Okay, Blackpool also closed at 5. Like, what the hell is going on here? The crowds were slower, so we were taking things at a much more relaxed pace in Blackpool, but that really bit us in the ass when 2 o'clock rolled around. We had a bevy of credits to grab. So we had to blitz around the park, and I had to start shelling out for single shots. Oops. First, the Woodies. Blue Flyer, the kitty Woody, was first, and it was exactly what I envisioned. A cute and charming Woody that offers no semblance of force. Not that I was expecting anything more from it. Nickelodeon Streak, next up, however, was a much bigger surprise. It's a simple, smallish out and back Woody, but it's chock full of that fun, bouncy airtime that only a 100-year-old coaster can give. Given its age and diminutive stature, I was not expecting such good forces. One of the most pleasant surprises of the trip. Unfortunately, Grand National was closed, so I didn't get a chance to hop on that piece of work. But there still was the legendary Big Dipper, which I heard some good things about. I had parked myself in the back with some pretty high expectations, but this centenarian Woody unfortunately did not deliver. There were many moments that hinted at elite airtime, but the majority of the ride was gentle float, with a heap of bounciness added in for good measure. There's one thing that the Big Dipper has, though: it absolutely oozes character. Much like most of this park, to be honest. The best part of the ride, in my humble opinion, was watching those 4 benchers around the tight station turn, sliding around Tokyo Drift style. It was very entertaining. And finally, there was Valhalla. Not a coaster credit, but I feel the need to talk about it anyway. Serena actually encouraged me to pack a bathing suit just for this ride, and I was a bit confused, but I complied. At the end of the day, we left the park, went to our little Fiat 500 rental, changed into a bathing suit and rain jacket, returned in, and rented a locker just to ride Valhalla. And you know what? That still was not enough. I started to take Serena's warnings a bit more seriously when we got into the station and the ride attendant whipped out a literal hose to suck the standing water out of the boat. But no matter how wet you think this ride will get you, I can assure you, you are underestimating it. The whole damn thing is designed to maximize the soaking you receive. I've never been so wet in my entire life, and my decision to wear shoes without socks was met with almost immediate regret. I should have brought flip-flops. Great ride, but I'm trying to understand why a park in the United Kingdom would install the world's most drenching water ride. Isn't the UK, like, famously cold and rainy? I mean, maybe everyone's just trying to lie to me because the entire week I was there was in the 60s and sunny. Make it make sense. Once we were soaked to the bone, we had time for one more ride. I had my heart set on a back row ride on the big one. My final ride on the big one and my last ride of the trip was something special. There, parked in the very rear of the train, I finally felt the full yank of that legendarily brutal first drop, and I achieved enlightenment. Suddenly, it hit me. This hulking beachside beast wasn't an inferior Magnum. In fact, it barely feels like Magnum at all. It feels like a 235-foot-tall version of the runaway mine train at Six Flags Great Adventure. A jerky, characterful tour around the park with some random moments of shocking positives or laterals, and one moment of jerky airtime so painfully abrupt that it feels like a genuine out-of-body experience. And for many people, that is not their cup of tea. But if you know anything about me, I absolutely adore the mine train, and I take every opportunity to park myself in row 2 and experience the full brunt of that death hill every time I visit. The big one is much the same. It's special, and it's full of character. Not nearly as good as Magnum, though. Oh, and by the way, they didn't have Enso going. I was completely prepared to shell out whatever absurd price was necessary to take the last row of Icon for a spin, but I didn't even get the chance. It did make my last ride choice a lot easier.
Here I am at the turnaround of the big one, saying goodbye to the last park of this Euro trip. It's again shockingly early. It's like 5:30 p.m. right now, and the whole park is closed and empty, which sucks, but you know, we had a great day at Blackpool. I think it's actually my favorite of the UK parks. Crowds are a lot more manageable, it's a lot more laid back, and it just has this like charm to it that the other UK parks don't have. But overall, it was really cool experiencing coasters in a different country. Looking forward to more international trips in the future. And oh yeah, ride the big one in the back row, and that drop will change your life. So the big one's been running on one train all day. I think I found the second. Here I am, London Gatwick Airport, on the way back from my first Euro trip. And overall, it was a pretty fun experience. I have to say the Berlin parks were pretty disappointing. The surprise hit of the trip for me was Blackpool. It's just like, it's really charming, it's like laid back. A lot of rides are running one train, which wasn't great, but overall it was a lot of fun. There's a beautiful seaside vista. Parc Astérix is just like a really good park, and you should just go to there regardless if you think Gouderic is a great ride or not. It is. But that's besides the point. But yeah, looking forward to more international trips in the future. Maybe the hours will be a little bit better when it's not April, but we'll find that out in the future. Thanks for watching.
Thank you all so much for watching, and sorry for the delay. Overall, I did have a really good time on this trip, and I hope you enjoyed the content from it. If you did enjoy the content from it, well, you're in luck, because there are a lot more European coaster trips coming my way in the near future. If you want to see more vlogs, then hit that subscribe button and come back to the channel sometime next year. In fact, if you made it this long, please like the video, leave a comment, and give the video some hype. It really helps for a smaller channel such as myself, especially as I plan to break into the new frontier that is Europe and go visit a lot of uncharted territory. As always, thank you so much for watching.